Okay, now I'm going to show you how to interpret the data. So we have two choices of softwares. One is LabChart, the other is LabChart Reader. The benefit of using LabChart is you can modify the comment if you find error that you made during experiment, and you can delete error sections, and you can save the default interface. I'm going to show you how do I do that using LabChart, and then surely you will be able to read data with LabChart. However, this software is expensive, and that is a software that we installed in our lab computer, and you can only use LabChart to collect data from PowerLab, which is the gray box. I refer that as the power box. And then the LabChart Reader will only allow you to read data. None of these is allowed in LabChart Reader. However, this one is free. So I'm going to show you how do I use LabChart to clean the data that I collected, and then I'm going to show you how do I use LabChart Reader to read data, so you can download this free version and play around with that. Okay, so here's the data you will be able to download from Canvas, and this is the data that I collected in the first round of the experiment, and then I figure out it's completely wrong. That's the experiment I did following the previous instructions, and then I did some modification of the data, and then I redo the experiment, and this is way better data. So we're going to start from this one. You can download this one, take a look how failed that is. So I'm going to show you how do I clean up the data with LabChart. You won't be able to do that because you don't have LabChart. You will only have LabChart Reader. Okay, so I'm going to right click that, and we'll open with, this is their fancy name for LabChart. Okay, I'm on LabChart. Okay, so now let's take a look at the data. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can have the overview of the data. Okay, so it looks like I have saline injection here, MSG injection, solution A. I have a solution B, and I have another solution B. And then one concentration of ethanol, one ethanol, another one, another one. I wrote ethanol as ETOH, and you will see people use this ETOH for short label of ethanol a lot in the future. Okay, so first thing I need to do is I need to delete this section because I know this section was an error. I accidentally inject saline instead of solution B when I'm doing the experiment, and I don't want to spend time cleaning up my data when I'm doing experiment. So I just make a quick note to myself. Now we can change all the error together. I need to delete this solution B, so what I need is just highlight, double click this section. This is section 5, and go to edit, and then clear section. It's going to ask, do I want to delete that? I will just say yes. Okay, the next error that I made was for this solution A injection. The comment I put here, one of them, the location was wrong, so I need to move that. So I'm going to highlight that section, double click the number, and then I'm going to zoom in, and it's going to disappear, but it's okay because I already highlight that. You can just keep searching for a place that's highlighted. Yes, that's here. All right. So the S3 is supposed somewhere in here. See the line here? That was my stimulus. So I need to move this number 17 comments after number 16 comment. So I'm going to unhighlight and then click 17. Okay, you see this dot here, and then put my cursor here. My cursor is going to change into an arrow pointing left and right. I'm going to move that. Now it's in the right spot. Okay, I'm going to zoom out. And if you want to edit any of your comment, you can just double click the number that's related to your comment. For example, I want to change this into solution B instead of just B. If I double click my 32, okay, and then that thing is going to highlight to me, so I'm going to change to injection of solution B, okay, and then when I can just hit enter. Okay, I can double click to go back to my chart, or I can click this one to go back to my chart. Okay, I'm double click. Okay, now I'm back to my chart, and my comment for this one changed to injection of solution B. All right, now I'm going to save all my changes. I can go to file and save as. So all the cleaning up for the data that I did here, you can do that in LabChart Reader. However, you cannot save that in LabChart Reader. You can only save them in LabChart. And I'm going to save my file as cleaned. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I'm going to rearrange my interface so it's going to be more user-friendly. So first one, I want to make this panel smaller. I can just click this shrink thing. Okay, it doesn't change anything. If I move the bar down below, there's a piece of blue show up, and move, then the blue bar show up. Now I can adjust the size. That is really annoying. I think that's the bug that the software need to solve. So your shouldn't be this hard. Okay, and then behind this panel there is our comment panel. I can shrink that, and all I need is the time and then comment, and put them side by side. And then I need my data panel. So if you click this thing, there's going to be a blue thing show up here, and then you can drag it up and move that aside. Okay, so there are some readings already in here, so I'm gonna clean up all these things. These are from previous readings. Okay, and then I really don't need readings of these numbers, so I can just turn off some of them. So let's click off, it's gone. And then the next column, off, it's gone. I only need one column, so this column I need the number of the maximum minus the minimum. So I just use this one. What this one will do is going to read the numbers from this chart, the highest minus the lowest. So that's going to give you our amplitude. And click OK. Alright, so this column is going to be all the numbers that we're going to use. And I adjust that thing a little bit. Okay, I'm going to save that again. So this is formatted. Save. Now I'm going to show you how to read data using our LabChart reader. So I have 4 files. This one is the failed one, and this one is the raw and the cleaned, and this one is the best format. So this one's going to be easiest. So I'm going to just double click that and open that with LabChart reader. If you install LabChart reader in your computer, you can just double click your file too after you download. Double click. Okay, so LabChart reader. Okay, my interface come back, but this guy is still hiding, so I need to adjust that a little bit and move that by the side. All right, let's take a look. How do I read data? So the first one, I want to interpret this saline injection, and that is my section 2. So I just highlight that, and then I'm going to zoom in. All right, so I need to highlight the part that I want to read. Okay, so this is the first stimulus, and if you see the data is here, you highlight that, and in order for the data to permanently stay here, you need to click Add to Datapad. Okay, and then there's the first data that's being added, and then the second, you have to highlight all the squiggle lines, right? All these squiggle lines are the stimulus are, and then click Add, and you get second data, and then we can move and get third. Add. Okay, so another way to do it is through your comment. So if you click the first comment is going to show up, and then you do the same thing. So these 3 numbers are the amplitude, the average amplitude for my each stimulus. So the maximum minus the minimum, so that gave you the first number. And so the same thing, the highest average minus the lowest average, you get the second number, and so that's the third one. Okay, now we have the baseline stimulus for saline injection, and then we need to collect after saline injection the 3 stimulus. So I'm going to double click S1, and this is my S1 after saline, so I need to highlight the part that I want to read. Okay, and then click Add, so that number, and then next one, and the third one. Okay, so now I collect 6 numbers for my stimulus before and after. Now I need to collect the numbers for the spontaneous. I'm gonna zoom out. So after the third stimulus. All these lines are my spontaneous baseline recording, right? So I want to find a place that's flat because there's squiggle lines here. These are probably the noise. So the best way to find them is to find this relatively flat space in here. And then for after injection, the further the better because they probably still have some remaining activity after injection. So you want to highlight the numbers here. Okay, so I want 3 spots for each of my baseline and after the injection. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And now I'm going to use 200 to 1 because that will give me the best view. So I'm going to move that just before my saline injection. Now I'm going to highlight 3 spots. So you can choose 1 second or 2 seconds for each sample. It really doesn't matter. I tried that. It's not going to affect you that much. So we're going to pick up the data between 1 second or 2 seconds. Okay, so this is my first baseline spontaneous, and then the second baseline spontaneous, and then the third one. So you see how the height that I select really doesn't matter. The width of I select matters because that will tell you from where we're going to collect data and where to stop collecting data. Okay, so these 3 numbers are for spontaneous response before my injection. Now I'm going to keep moving. Okay, so this is my first stimulus after injection. So I want to pick up spot somewhere in here. So this is my first data range. And then second one. And then this probably pretty flat here, and then third one. Okay, so now I have all these 12 data. So the first 6 is for stimulus, and then the second 6 is for the spontaneous. Now I'm going to copy this thing into the Excel that I make. I shared this file in our Google Doc, so you can paste that. Okay, so what is in this data file? I have some calculations in here already for you, so we're going to talk that later after we collect all the data. Alright, now I'm going to clean my data pad and zoom out. Okay, I'm going to highlight my MSG section. Then I'm going to zoom in to 200 to 1. And I'm going to go to the first stimulus. So this is my first data point. And my data moves to here. That's completely fine. I mean, the software lost its mind. Anyway. And then second one. Okay, so keep adding here. And then the third one. Alright. And now we're going to do after injection stimulus. Okay, the first one. And the third one. Okay, so there are 6 of them. Now let's do the spontaneous. Right before the injection. 1 data set. One sample. And second one. And third one. Okay, and then next one. Okay, after the injection. So I'm going to sample here. And here. And here. I want to avoid these 2 spikes because they are noise. If you do a statistical test, these things will be outliers, so you shouldn't include them. Okay, I'm going to copy that and paste that into my data file. Alright, now I'm going to do my solution A. Okay, let's take a look at the data that we collected. So the first three rows are for the data that we collected from stimulus evoked firing before we inject anything. And then the second three rows are for the stimulus evoked firing after we do our injection of the drug. And then the third three rows are for spontaneous firing before injection. And then the last three rows are for the spontaneous firing after the injection. And then the column names are the drugs that we injected for each group data set. And this row, we'll use that to calculate the average of the first three numbers. If you double click the cell, the Excel will tell you which formula it used to calculate which number. So in this situation, that is the average of these three numbers. And then this one is going to be the average of these three numbers. And same for this one, is the average of them. And then the last one is the average of them. And these are the p-values that I calculate for my t-test. If you don't know what is a t-test, that is a statistic test that we do to test if the difference between two groups are significant or not. The p-value is the number that we want to get any type of statistic test. For this situation, that's t-test. If the p-value is smaller or equal 0.05, the difference between the two groups are significant. If the value is over than 0.05, the difference are not significant, which means it can be ignored. Let's take a look. So if the function will tell you this is a t-test and use two groups data. One is this one, it's before injection, the stimulus, and then the next group is after the injection, the stimulus. So array 1 is this group data, array 2 is this group data, and there's some other two settings. You don't have to worry about that. I already set it up to you. If you want to learn that, you can ask your statistic teachers. Okay, and then you hit exit. It's going to come back to your number. So this situation, the two groups p-value is 0.9, so that's pretty big, which means the difference between these two groups are not significant, can be ignored. And if you take a look at their average, one is 52, the other is 53. They are different, but the difference is very small, plus the p-value is that big, so that means we can pretty much ignore the difference of these two groups, right? So before and after saline injection, the stimulus evoked firing didn't change much. Okay, and how about the spontaneous firing? If you highlight this, so the p-value was collected from this t-test of this group and this group, and that's pretty small, so we can say the difference between these two groups are significant. And if you take a look at the average, the mean, the after injection was 21 microvolts, and then the before is 12 microvolts. So definitely after the injection is way higher than before, right? So that kind of makes sense, because if you inject a lot of volume into your belly, that's probably going to increase your pressure, and then your autonomic system is going to fire up, do something, right? But that probably won't affect your response to the environment. If somebody poke you, you still will be able to respond to them, right? Now let me show you how do we calculate the mean and the p-value for other data. So there are two ways. The most tedious way is go manually, double click, and then type in equal, and then type in average. It's going to show up, and you select that, double click, and there is going to be a preference open for you. Then you are going to select the number that you want to use to calculate the average, and then you close it, and then hit enter, then that's your value. And same thing for others. So that is the most time consuming way. And I need to show you the time consuming way to do a t-test. So you click your cell and then type in equal, and then type in t-test. It's going to show up for you, so you double click that, and there's going to be a preferences open for you, and you are going to select your array number 1, which is going to be the first three numbers, and then put comma, and then next number 3 numbers, okay, and then comma, and then it's going to be a two-tailed t-test, so they type 2 in there, and then that's going to be 2 sample equal variance, type 2 in there. Why do I choose 2 and then the two-tail, that is your statistic question. You can check with your statistic teacher and close that and hit enter. And that's your p-value between the first 3 number and the second 3 number. Okay, I'm going to delete that and I'm going to show you a fast way to do that. Okay, so the fast way to do that is to copy and paste these things. So copy, Control C, and paste, Control V. Ta-da! Look at that. So the average of the first 3, and then this is the p-value of this group and this group. That cool? Okay, I'm going to delete that. I have an even faster way to do that. You highlight this thing and see there is this dot here. If you move your cursor close, very close to this dot, it's become a black cross, and you can drag your red cross, and then the number is going to fill up here. So they are going to use the same formula. So what is the benefit of that? You can drag all the way along and calculate all the numbers for you. Huh? Just in case you don't know, take a look at this number. That means 2.8033 times 10 to the negative 7. So that's a very small number. That is now 2008 something, right? Okay, I'm going to delete these numbers here, and I'm going to ask you to calculate the mean and then the p-value for all these different groups, and then read these data from our data file and then calculate the mean and p-value for this group too. And I'm going to write you some instructions. You can just follow the instruction and finish this.